Hello and welcome to Wednesday Warzone by the Garrison Archangel team. Sorry about that black screen back there. There was some technical issues we were trying to fix, but we're live now. And yes, this is Wednesday Warzone, and this is Paolo from the Garrison Archangel team. And yeah, sorry, messed up the intro with the technical stuff there. But anyway, going back to Wednesday Warzone, we have a few surprises for you. Last week we released the new public, the new endings and the new routes for the what do you call this? For the Piedrana Separatists and the Imperial Legion, and we hope you guys are having fun with that. And along with those new routes, we also added new missions for the two warring factions, particularly the Ducaron and the Ducaron and the Sunfield Frontier. So each faction now has 4 main missions that you can encounter before you reach the the 4th mission is the final mission, and completing the 4th mission will complete your missions mode run and will basically constitute one whole playthrough of the missions mode. But of course, like I described prior, these missions they're not procedurally generated, so they have a set kind of difficulty, and it expects you to kind of upgrade your parts before you get to play them. So here, this is a debug mode, so you can see all 4 of the missions of the Ducaron. And we've shown this before, the fight on the Endeavor. I've resolved not to show off the final missions of the Piedrana Separatists and Imperial Legion, but I've seen some people talk about it, and we hope you guys enjoy it. We did it on purpose. We tried to hide what it is you fight, so please experience it for yourself. Anyway, that being said, you can read more about the changes we released to public on our Archangel announcements. It's on our Steam website. You can we also listed there the mechanics changes, like the changes to speed, the changes to the weapons. We put a list of buffs. You can also check, if I remember correctly, it's no. Where was it? Anyway, you can also check our preview, like the preview thread in our discussion and our Steam discussions. You can also check that out. We also put the list of we put the change list there. We also have another thread, and sometimes we also put follow-up announcements detailing the changes we put. So anyway, I think for the public build, it's best if you just play the game on public to see for yourself what has changed. For this episode of Wednesday Warzone, we actually want to show something a bit experimental. Like, you have to be on the preview build of the game to see what's up, and it's really quite different from how the public game is played. We believe this will make the game better. It feels better. When we released it to preview and had people try it out, they had positive. It was a positive review. There were positive reviews regarding it, but of course there are things we have to change up, and it's regarding stability and deflection, which is now universal. Okay. Just so you guys know, we put melee deflection and range deflection on here. This represents armor deflection, and armor deflection means any armor damage you take from weapons is reduced by whatever is here. So here it says it's 34%. So if I take damage, I actually reduce the damage by 34%. But deflection only happens while you have stability. So we gave everyone deflection so that they feel like while they have stability, they can they basically have armor. They have an additional layer of defenses, And for armor builds, this will become a very important tool. You'll really want to maintain your stability rather than just just tanking hits and canceling out even while vulnerable. Another thing you should notice is that red part in your stability bar on the lower left has actually been extended, and it means that everyone from now on has double the vulnerability than before. Before, vulnerability was at 500. No, sorry, almost double. It's not yet double. Vulnerability used to be 500 and it could be reduced. Now it's up to 800. That means on flinch, you can probably add an additional hit. With melee weapons, it becomes more useful to put people in stability. On top of that, put people in vulnerability. On top of that, we actually put a new, this is already on preview. All this I just said is on preview. So you take less damage while you have stability. You notice that was 301, but let's put him into vulnerable. See that? I missed that, sorry. Again, 301. So 1030 and 674. I actually dealt 350. Yeah, I dealt something like 330. I actually had a bit more there. Also, did you notice that there was a slowdown when I actually put him into vulnerable? That's because the first hit that brings you into vulnerable cannot be cancelled out from. This is the new change I was hinting at in Discord, because we want to make the entire, once you're flinched, the guy who flinched you gets rewarded by being able to land like a second hit. So after trading with an enemy several times, once you hit them, there'll be a slowdown which indicates, oh, this guy can't cancel out of this for a few frames. 20 frames is what we put. For 20 frames, the guy can't cancel, can't do any kind of move. You can probably land an additional hit on him. After that 20 frames has passed, and you're still laying on the guy, wailing on the guy, he can now cancel out. So the capability to cancel out of being hit still remains, but for that hit that puts you into vulnerable, you cannot cancel out of that. And the reason for this is simple, because in the old version of the game, it's very easy to just, kind of walk away from a hit. But people like that aspect. They like the idea of, I still have agency even if I'm being hit. But while some people didn't like the fact that I hit the guy, but he's just walking around, he's just walking away from me. So it's like, for a while people were saying that the best way to play the game is just to bring a large one-hit weapon, because anyways, that's sure to you dealt your damage, you don't need to follow up. So we put that system in so that the lesser damaging weapons also have a chance to shine, and I think it has really good results. The vulnerability allows for some interesting combos, like real combos now. Like I'm pretty sure he won't be able to move for 20 frames, so I'll probably follow up with a cool move. And are we back? Are we back? Are we back? Are we back? Yep, yep. Hello, hello. Yo, 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 yo. Yep, we're back. Okay, guys, really sorry about the technical difficulties. Oh man, it took a good chunk. It took like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Anyway, going back, welcome to Wednesday Warzone. If you guys are just coming back now, we actually had a bit of a technical difficulties earlier. So now I think it's fixed. Once again, this is Paolo. I guess I might as well do the intro again. This is Paolo of the Garrison Archangel team, and this is Wednesday Warzone. Welcome back, everyone who was watching earlier, and for everyone who's just coming in now. Hopefully you stick around. Hopefully this keeps. And yeah, we'll be resuming the Wednesday Warzone that was cut off. Like I said earlier, just last week we released the new missions mode, missions and routes. So you now have 4 missions from the Dukeron, Sunfield, Imperial Legion, and the Separatists. Finishing any 4 of those missions finishes a run of the missions mode. But of course, you can play the missions mode again and again to unlock the parts you want and to get the new endings. So there are 6 possible endings in the game, 2 of which you can get just by playing normally. Just play to your heart's content, play however you want. And then, yeah, it only depends on what you do in the final mission. So, though there are 2 missions, 2 neutral ending missions, and then 2 neutral endings, and then 1 ending for each of the 4 main factions, which is Imperial Legion, Separatists, Dukeron, and Sunfield Frontier. So we hope you guys check those out. The Imperial Legion and the Separatists are the ones with the new final missions. Okay, now that we're done with that recap, before I was cut off, I was showing off the new experimental mechanics that are in the preview mode of the game. First of all, we added a passive deflection for everyone in the game. So everyone, while they have stability, will suffer less damage than before. The base deflection is 25%, but that can increase with equipment and with your armor stat. Your armor stat grants you 1% per 1,000 armor you have. So what this means is, if you're an armor build and you have lots of stability, you'll be shaving off a lot more damage than other mechs without armor. So this also means that for lower armored mechs, they actually have less stability and will be shaving off less damage. But most importantly, the change regarding stability, on top of the deflection change, is the new extension of the state called vulnerable. Vulnerability is that red part of your stability bar that indicates that if you're hit during this state, you will flinch. And when you're flinching, it actually applies penalties to your dodge cancels. And in general, it just sucks, because of course you're being hit. You can't take it and you're being hit. On top of that, the first hit that brings you into flinch state or vulnerable state can't be cancelled out for 20 frames. So like 1/3 of a second, you can't cancel out of it. So it's really good for fast weapons because there's more vulnerable time, which means enemies have a harder time canceling out. You don't want to be hit anyway, so you don't want to reach that red. If you're in that red, basically canceling out costs more, and whenever you're hit, you kind of stagger, so you stop whatever you're doing. So that's what stability was for in the game. If you have a lot of stability, you just kind of shrug off the hit. I mean, you take the hit to the armor, but it's reduced, and you're free to do that move. Like what I keep doing, I just keep doing Dominus forward because I still have a lot of stability. But if the enemy manages to put me in the red, I suffer a stun, and I'm not allowed to cancel out during that stun. And then they get to hit me, and then until I run out of stability. But during that point, after the initial stun period, I am free to cancel out. But of course, there is a cost, and it's not an assurance that I'm safe. Like just what happened there. He was using the Vindicators on me. It's rapid fire. So I cancelled out, but I was caught again, so I got flinched again. So the point of the game now is to be very careful about your stability and to maintain it. Even if you're an armor build, If an enemy is able to put you in the red, you're going to be just um, you're gonna be thrown around the field basically. Uh, on top of that, we did changes to speed. On top of your costs in vulnerable being lower, you also actually dodge less compared to before. Gosh. So as you see there, even ranged attacks can trigger the flinch. So, uh, it's really important now not to get hit and not to overload carelessly. Um, but we also want to reward players who are able to land hits because the ones who are aggressive are more likely to put you in the red. If you just play defensive, you'll have to have a good like suite of weapons or have a like a combo or use a parry or a perfect guard to put the enemy in the red. But more aggressive enemies will most likely put you in the red before you get to. Um, so it becomes more of a of what do you call this? It's more of a race to put people invulnerable. Because also when you're invulnerable, because of our deflection system, any hit you take while vulnerable deals its full damage, full 100, full stab damage if ever that if you're after that. And even attacks that don't deal a lot of stab damage have a lot of use now because you can actually land more hits with those attacks. So now it's a more combo oriented kind of game. Whereas before people were just trying to land one hit and then down the enemy as soon as possible. Now it's like you can put them into Vul and then set up your next attack because you have 20 frames to kind of set up what combo will I do today. On top of that, because of this new system, we modified a lot of melee weapons and basically melee I think in general got a upgrade from this. For example, uh, how we buffed them in particular is we added the melee cancel step to a lot of attacks that didn't have that before. For example, level 3 Star Gauntlet forced you to finish the animation before you could, move again. But for this enemy, the enemy was downed instantly. It will give you combo opportunities though if they're not down. So, and even level 2 can. Yeah, you see that I was able to combo off a level 2 because actually the level 1 has a melee counter, a melee collision, a melee hitbox basically. There's a melee hitbox, so I'm able to combo with certain attacks that weren't comboable before, and the extended vulnerability across the board gives people more incentives to combo and experiment with the new melee weapons. In particular, one of my favorites in the testing phase of this new update is the Mugen Sakura because I can do some crazy stuff like. But the enemy was down immediately. so level, so level 1 and 2. So you see that slowdown there? That indicates that the enemy was put into vulnerable, and that also indicates that the enemy can't cancel out of that. So we also apply the slowdown to other cases, like when there's a perfect dodge, when there's a melee clash. So just study the study the particles and the effects to understand what's going on. For example, in a melee clash, both of you are actually allowed to input something immediately and cancel out of it. This also applies to melee weapons cutting down projectiles. So there's a lot of things you can do with melee in this game now. For example, I can now combo from level 4 in case the enemy's still up. So right after whacking them with a level 4, I can follow up with another weapon. So yeah, there's that. Okay. What else is there? Oh yeah, the axe. The axe also has actually has some hitboxes in its moves. So let's see. No. Wow. Then wow, it really just so I can actually combo from level 2. Or I can combo from level 1 actually, so wow. And then he's invulnerable, I can just whack him again. So yeah, we open up the door to just you can go wild with melee weapons now. Even stuff like the Strelka. Oh yeah, there we go. I was trying to remember what I was trying to show. Even the Strelka now has on its primed attacks. It also now has melee cancel windows. So you're able to go wild with the new vulnerability system. Like even if the enemy is downed by a successful Strelka forward melee attack, you can probably just wail on him until he goes down. Especially since you'll have one more free hit after that, most likely. So, oh, what a crime! Oh, there we go. Oh, remember this? I hope the person's watching this. This was actually an entry to our fashion contest. So uh, the enemy was down there, but if he was still up, I could actually still follow up. Oh no. We're both overloaded, but yeah. Oh no. Okay. If I hit with that F melee, see, I'm able to attack immediately. Oh yeah, I'm fighting shoutouts to Ash. This is a champion mech. Speaking of which, after this battle, okay, I won at 0 health. Speaking of which, shoutouts to Ash was a champion mech from a contest, from a tournament, a local tournament we call Cosmic Clash. But shoutouts to Ash in particular was from a new tournament season, which we're holding in a place called the Spawn Point Lounge in Quezon City. It's no longer the Cosmic Gorgon's usual haunt because they closed down. So, but they're one of our supporters. They're actually the organizers of this new Spawn Point, the Spawn Point, the Clash Point Paradox. That's the name of the tournament. So they ran a tournament, and then shoutouts to Ash won that tournament. You can actually watch the streams of how the fights turned out. They're online, and we're actually gonna have another tournament this weekend. We've actually put it on our social media. It's the second part of the Spawn Point Clash Point Paradox, but it's its own mini tournament. They call it the Dark Tournament, DARK, because it's an anime fighter themed fighting game tournament. Garrison Archangel was actually requested to as one of the games, so we decided to make it an official game. If you win the tournament, the DARK tournament, you'll be able to add your mech to the roster, and just bring your mechs, put them in a USB drive, a flash drive, or email them to us and pre-register for the Dark tournament, and you'll have a chance to be part of this game. A lot of the game's roster actually came from one person who basically he regularly appears. He doesn't win all the time, but because he's there all the time, he's won a lot of tournaments, and he was able to put in a lot of mechs in the game. And if I'm talking about how much that one person has contributed, in general, a lot of our roster are actually people who won tournaments. So you can see how the meta kind of shifted, what weapons were competitive, what builds and what playstyles were competitive. And this weekend, the Dark Tournament, it's an opportunity for you to add your own mech to the roster of Garrison Archangel. So if you're interested, please do come over. Please do pre-register, and please bring a flash drive or email us beforehand so we can prepare. Because last time, funny story, the organizers just wanted us to put our game on because a lot of the games were not in their finals yet. So they just said, "Hey, let's just show a game." So they got Garrison Archangel in, and we were the first like tournament, and the entire tournament was actually shown on stream. A lot of the first part was people making their mechs, but we wanted to, of course, showcase that because this game is about customizing your mechs. So, but I was taken aside and told, "Hey, can we next time have people not making their mechs?" I was like, we showed you everything. That was our entire tournament, so we're thankful to them for that. But please do bring your mechs. It's not that will prevent you from making the mechs there. It's just so we can save time. Please do email us if you decide to join too. This game is live, by the way, in case people are just coming in and asking, "Hey, what's this tournament about?" This game is at Quezon City, so you have to be in the Philippines, in Manila. I know it's sad. A lot of you guys are not in the Philippines. But if you guys run live tournaments elsewhere, just tell us. We'll try to sanction it, and if you say this guy wins, we'll try. I mean, if it's an official tournament that we sanction, we'll get that guy into our game roster. It's the least we can do for our community members. So just tell us about that. I know there are people who want to do an online tournament. Right now, our primary online method of playing is Steam Remote Play because we're still reviewing and trying to fix the multiplayer. Because now that we finished single player, we can move to just polishing different aspects of the game. I mean, Steam Remote Play is pretty good if you're all in the same area and you have comparable net speeds. So if you guys want to run an online tournament with Steam Remote Play, just tell us. We can help you out with that. On our end, we just don't have the manpower or the resources to run it on our own. Please understand the Dark tournament that I talked about earlier. That's actually being held by the Spawn Point. It's a community, basically one of our local communities, who just came to us. So we just decided to help out. But it's them really organizing and making everything possible. We're just really helping them out. Yeah, so just if you want to start anything, I'm just saying basically, if you guys want to start anything, just go ahead and tell us about it, and we'll try to help you out. So don't be afraid to do some community tournaments and stuff. So that's it. That's a lot about the Dark tournament. So anyway, going back, the Dark tournament is this Saturday, February 22 at the Spawn Point Game Lounge. Please come after lunch, before 3 p.m. They want to start the tournament at 3 p.m. So we'll be there. The dev team will be there just so we can collect data. Although we do join the tournaments just to test our own hypotheses about things. So it's not usually that the devs win. So don't worry about it. Just make sure you have a good mech and a good game style. So that's it. I think that's it. We're regarding this Wednesday Warzone. I think we've talked about everything. Oh, another thing. Sorry, this is major. I forgot about it completely. We just added this a few days ago, actually. The dash distance stat, we've decided to link it to the strength stat. So that means if you're a strength build, you actually get a bonus to dash distance, because dash distance actually is determined by two things: your base mobility and a percentage bonus based on your strength. You actually get a penalty if your strength is below 5,000. So pure speed builds still dash may dash slower than expected, but speed strength builds will dash really far. So this build I think is a speed strength build. Are you? You are? Yeah. So the dash distance is 120. Speed is 5. Ah, so it's more strength. Basically, you have a higher percentage if you have higher strength, higher percentage bonus. So the dash distance is 120. If I went full, I'm sorry whoever owns this. I'm just doing whatever. If I just went full Myrmidon, I'd actually have a higher dash distance because the percentage becomes so high. So Shrike, legs, arms. Oh, they're all Shrike. It's all Shrike. So Myrmidon, my mobility is going lower, but my dash distance is slowly going up. So what we wanted to do with this was kind of make the dash distances more regular across the board, with strength builds having a higher kind of median dash distance compared to their counterparts. So you can see Myrmidon is giving me a lot of dash distance. I thought I would lose some because my mobility was going down, so apparently not. The percentage is high enough. Yeah, I think this is where I'll start losing. Oh no, apparently not. So my dash distance becomes 135 full Myrmidon. So that means I can hit enemies farther away. But of course, you want your mobility to be high so that your walk speed's pretty high too. And you want boost, so. Oh my, that's pretty far, so. 45, 50. Okay, so 40. I might hit at 40. Yeah, I hit at 40. If I were a Shrike, I probably would not reach that far. So check that out. So dash distance affects your dodge, how far you dodge, how far you thrust with your attacks, and yeah, in general, it affects anything that has a burst of movement. It affects that. So let me go to Falcon. So as you can see, my dash distance is going down, but look at my mobility; it's going way up. So the irony is, speed types will probably have less overall. Oh, I'm losing mobility because I'm overweight if I do this. Okay, so I won't. Yeah, so also strength helps you not be overweight. So there's a lot of penalties for being overweight, so don't do that. So my dash distance is about 106 because my strength is 5250. So 100-ish. If you want to have a lot of, if you want to maximize your mobility and speed, mobility and dash distance, I suggest you run Shrike or Keelan because they both give speed and strength. So I missed it. It's 108. Let's try making it Shrike. So my dash distance is going up even though my mobility went down. So it should help strength builds. It gives them their own like defense options while also giving them more offense options because their MDM, which is the melee damage mod, actually naturally goes up as you put strength. So I'm actually dealing 110% of my usual melee damage. So let's try this out. 40 meters. Oops. Oh, that hit. That means I was actually hitting at a farther distance. So it ends there. 41 meters hits, because when I enter the move... Oh no, it doesn't. What? I was entering the move at 4. Oh, no. Well, the move attack happened at 38. But anyway, it's something for you guys to test out. Yeah, so there's a lot of things we changed up. The most important one being the stability and vulnerability. We feel like it'll make the game more exciting and a little more fair. Like if you hit, you want to continue hitting. So we still give you the chance to escape, but of course it's a hefty price. So there. And I think that's it for Wednesday Warzone. For real this time. So melee cancels, deflect, stability offering deflect, passive deflect that everyone has, which heightens with armor, heightened vulnerability. Now there's 800, whereas before it was 500. So that's one additional hit, more or less. But sometimes it feels like more. I don't play particularly high MDM characters, so against an armored enemy, I can tell you that won't usually down them instantly. You'll get a free hit, and you'll be thankful that the Strelka now has a melee cancel because you want to follow up in case you have a free hit. Alternatively, you might want to shoot your guns at it, like what I do with Blondie Initial. So it might be harder now for speed builds to handle a lot of this, especially since melee is now really strong. But just know how to deal with vulnerability, and you can deal with a lot of things. Oh man. Okay. Oop, I wasn't. There we go. See, now I can do stuff like that. Whereas before, it was kinda... Then he would probably go down at the third shot. Bam! Got you. Oh, he went down. So now the Dragoon is now a really all-in-one weapon. Stab and melee. We buffed the Dragoon and the SMG damage, so after stunning them, you might want to just, down. Oh, that guy did something cool. Oh. So now you really feel the hits from if you were like, if you were flinched, it now feels like, oh no, you got me, Whereas before it was, as long as I have health, I can cancel out, it's okay. So now we wanted to reduce that, but we wanted to give people the option. I mean, it's a bad option a lot of the time, but people want control over their mechs, so we still give them that option. But at least now, if you're on the attacking side, you feel good, I mean, I was able to put him in vulnerability. I got one hit in. He has to pay more to cancel out. I'll probably get more hits in. It's a pretty cool feeling. Which makes it closer to a fighting game, but at the same time it really isn't, because canceling out. Lots of options to cancel out, lots of defensive options, iframes. Oh, we also reduced the iframes in this build, so you'll notice I'm getting hit more often. It's a little stricter. First 10 frames are the only frames with iframes, so you have to on press. It has to be just right. Because if the attack also has extended hit frames, it'll probably hit you on the follow-up. So, yeah, pretty hard. The guy also has an MB, so he's dealing a lot of stab damage. Not that I have a lot of stab, okay? I don't have a lot of stability. So one hit's enough to down me. Now the pressure is on speed builds to really not get hit. Because if you get hit, it's pretty bad. But they have a lot of boost. They can dodge more often than their counterparts, which is really a good thing. It's really such a major thing. And they have higher natural movement speed, which is good. As you can see, I'm a full range build, but I'm relying on melee to kind of pad out my attacks. There we go, look at that, cool. Whack whack, Peacemaker out. Come on. Okay. No! that perfect guard is really strong. Also, perfect guard. In case you missed the Wednesday Warzone where we described its effects, what it does is actually return 50% of the stab damage it prevented back to you. And this is for a melee attack. For range, it doesn't do anything, so range is still pretty safe. In general, range is super safe. You don't risk getting parried. You don't risk getting perfect guarded. You don't have to worry about the interaction between power attacks, light attacks, melee cancels. But of course, they lose out because they have ammo. They don't have melee cancel frames, which are usually better in most cases, especially with the new vulnerability system. So it balances them out. You have safety. You have safety. It's hard to dodge ranged attacks a lot of them, but at the same time, it doesn't allow you to be as aggressive compared to a melee attacker can just like, if I hit you, I can input another thing and immediately attack without spending boost. So for me, I'm having a hard time because I'm canceling out, just trying to get some additional damage in or trying to follow up. But being a speed build, it's fine because I have a lot of boost anyway. But melee builds can just on top of their first hit just continue landing more hits. So yeah, I hope this makes the game more exciting. For me, I feel it's much better than before. Of course, there are some weapons that need adjustment. Suddenly, the SMG and the Dragoon are really, really good. Like, I'm demonstrating why the Dragoon's good. But of course, people say that it can be what do you call this, melee cut. But of course, it's still instantaneous, and you can fire it until the enemy stops moving. So still really strong. These weapons and other weapons that we're studying with these new mechanics, they can be changed in the future. Although we finished missions mode, our goal for our single player experience more or less is done. We're taking the time to kind of review what we have and fix existing mechanics and polish it before we get the game in its final state in full release. So we hope this is a good change. We feel this is a good change. In general, the fact that you get stunned on the first hit of flinch and the fact that you can combo enemies now more effectively than before, it feels better overall. So we'll be releasing this into preview maybe later or tomorrow. Anyway, it'll be soon. By the time this video gets recorded on YouTube, you see this video, it might already be out on preview, and we suggest you try preview out. Oh, and for the people playing in the Dark Tournament this Saturday, we won't be using the preview build first, because the preview build really was like last week, Friday, or was it? Yeah, Friday last week, or just last week. We just released it last week, so we can't really have that for the tournament yet. And besides, we promised we'd use the public build. So the public build that's been out for a week now, that's it. That is what will be used for the tournament. So there. But if you just want to try preview, I know a lot of the usual tournament people, are playing on preview right now. They're testing out the changes. They're also giving suggestions on the Discord. So please do join us on the Discord if you're not yet on the Discord, by the way. And we like listening to your suggestions. We try our best to put them in. But of course, we're a small team, so some suggestions we can't really put in. For various reasons, we can't really list them all, like feasibility or how it'll change a lot of the game mechanics. There's a lot of reasons we may not be able to put in your suggestions, but we try to get in as much as we can. And people who have been with us for the longest time understand this. This new vulnerability extension and the deflection changes was actually a suggestion by someone, so that's why it only came out last week, and I think it's a really good addition to the game. So we think, for in general, we find it as a good addition. We think being able to being rewarded for landing a good hit and going through the trouble flinching the enemy should be rewarded. If you're aggressive, you should get as much damage as you can. That should be allowed. So rather than having to find out a gimmick to get in more damage. So yeah, that's why we put this in. And I've been rambling and playing as Blondie for too long. I better read what people have been saying. So thanks. Okay. Yep, back. It's this apply for parry. Dominus. So SMG's Lord. And good efficiency. So odd not seeing mobility have. I mean, mobility still has a lot of boost. Their movement speed is still top notch. There was a comment. So odd seeing mobility not have those super long lunges and tons of boost and quick recharge and good efficiency. It's because of the new dash mechanic being tied to strength. And we did that on purpose because we wanted strength to have its own defensive feature, and being able to burst into and out really far, really much farther than their counterparts is our idea of it. So it used to be that the dash distance was based purely on the mobility stat, so it's just a percentage of your mobility stat, or it's derived off that. So speed builds could lunge really far, could dodge really far, and they on top of that they had a lot of boost capacity, so they could dodge more often than their counterparts. They could boost for longer than their counterparts, and it was just too much. So that's why we had that nerf to speed. But we understand people were saying that most of their non-speed builds suffered. It's part of the it's one of the prices to pay for the nerf to speed. But what we tried to do with speed was also raise the base mobility of the lower speed builds. The higher speed builds gained some, but not as much as the lower ends. So we tried to minimize the additions to speed and tried to make a higher addition for the lower ends. If you fight enemies in missions mode, they can get really crazy in terms of what they can do, the maneuvers they can do. And it's because we raised the mobility speed, the base movement speed of everything. And on top of that, we reduced the dash distance of dodges because we felt like the ability to iframe, to cancel, and to reposition really far from the enemy at any point is already too powerful, and giving speed all that at the same time is really powerful. So with our shift of putting the dash distance to strength, we remove another part of what made speed so strong and put it in strength. Now, if you're a pure strength build like I built earlier with Myrmidon, you dodge less often than speed, no doubt, but your dodges are farther. Your attacks are also travel farther though, and that's base movement. That's none of that is derived. None of that is using bonuses from internals or whatever. By the way, thrusters add to that dash bonus if you study them in Garage. That they will add to that base dash bonus. They've actually been adding to that base dodge bonus for the longest time, but no one likes using thrusters for some reason. But you can really feel it if you're using the X thrusters. Your boosted movement is also increased, so anything that uses boost basically has its speed ramped up if you have some kind of thruster on you. So, and we also lessen the cost of those thrusters. So you might want to check out thrusters now, because builds that aren't using strength will have much lower dash distances than those that do build on strength. Even speed builds are affected, even though part of the dash distance calculation is derived from your mobility stat. So, like this, Blondie is a pure speed type, but dash distance is only 85. So, you can see stuff like that. Which is why I had a harder time. One strategy to mitigate it as a speed type is to dodge once and then just boost. You only dodge to cancel, to reposition yourself out of there, then you just use boost. You use the initial dodges, iframes, to save you from the danger. So it's more advisable to do that now as a speed build because you have a lot of boost. So might as well just use your boosted movement more often. Compared to the other builds, they'll want to use the dodge. They'll want to use the dodge because they don't have a lot of boost, so they might as well just dodge. So I haven't used an armor build. An armor builds also, like I said earlier, they benefit from higher deflection. So I actually take a lot less damage than people with lower armor. On top of my high HP, as long as I have stability, the damage is really low. So, oh, this looks like Typhoon Oasis build, except I have jump thrusters. Okay. Dual bashing. My power is gun. Okay, as you can see, I'm taking very little damage because I'm just maintaining my stability. And yeah, really, we have to look at these SMG and Dragoon. The bashes are really effective. They're low damage, 200-200. Makes them really good combo weapons. Anyway, but then he's kicking my ass, so okay. Okay. What? Damn. Anyway, like I said, melee has been buffed now, so they've been, as long as they're able to flinch you, they'll probably go to town on you and just deal so much damage. Oh, we both flinched, but he won. I was trying to come in for a combo, so my mistake. There we go. There, there. Stay down. Ooh, nice. That bullet cut into X thruster activation was some ninja stuff. That's some ninja stuff. Okay, got you. Okay, there we go. 200. So I actually posted a video of Blondie using the bash. Now it's really good because it's 200. So you're not stuck, and the vulnerability being extended means it's less risky to just spam attacks, try to get as much damage in. Whereas before, the enemy can just cancel out. So it really became good. We might have to look at the effectiveness of these weapons because these weapons also both deal stab. So they kind of open up the enemy to those combos. So, and imagine if I had a Dominus. It's just using Mr. Surprise earlier. So anyway, that was for mobility. But that was the changes we did for going back. Changes we did for mobility and strength. So what's this? What else do we have? Missing SMG game. Ever considered making Star Gauntlet level almost instant like the Labris? I think it's already pretty fast. And Star Gauntlet has a lot of good moves, good ranged moves, good quick moves. So not sure why you'd want it to make it like the... I'm sorry. The Gauntlet has a lot of good range moves, good speed moves. I don't know why you'd want it to be exactly the same as the Labris. So. Level 1 and 2 Star Gauntlet. Yep. The level 1 has a hitbox and a fist, so you can out combo with it. It's pretty good. Do clashes reset frames and animations? Yes, you can input. As soon as you input, like what happened earlier when I was fighting Proto 1, he actually cut my bullet, then immediately input X thruster. Was some real anime stuff. That was anime. Except for Vol. How does melee cancel windows differ from good recovery frames? Good recovery frames are good even if you miss. cancel windows usually are earlier than the recovery frames. On hit, I'll usually be able to input something and then I'll trigger that animation before my old animation finishes. So in the good recovery frames, what that you're talking about, for ranged weapons, if you have a shorter recovery frame, the animation after you shoot is shorter and you're able to do something else. And usually weapons with short recovery frames are better because you can just shoot them and then you're pretty much safe. That's why the SMG is lowered, because it hardly has any animation recovery frames to speak about, and you're able to move with it and it deals stab damage. So it has to be reviewed. I'll admit that. So in the old version of the game, it was less a problem because it ran out of bullets and people weren't really having a problem about losing stability. It wasn't really a problem for most people, losing stability. So now that stability is a major factor, the SMG is really powerful. Limit build time to 2 minutes. I do remember Spicy B telling me that he forgot that piece of paper for his build. It's either USB or paper. Yeah. Oh man, are we gonna build? Yeah, I got a paper. Deleting of next. Okay, SMG buff. Strength changes. Oh, there it is. 39 has this map. It seems big. When is its preview release? Like I said, it's either tonight or tomorrow. By the time this video is recorded and the people not on stream watch it, will probably be live already. The build I showed you guys, that was like our preliminary test build for preview, so it's gonna be out soon. Looking forward to watching the tournament this weekend and trying the new preview build. Hope some more weapon experiments can also make it in. Yeah, I know there's quite a list we have on Discord, so we're seeing what we can put in. 39 has flashbacks. I don't even remember if dash distance affects literal dashes on hold boost. On hold boost is not affected by the dash distance. Dash distance affects weapon movement and dodges. Basically any movement that suddenly moves you forward in a burst rather than a held kind of move, those are affected by dash distance. So we'll see when we test them. Devs? What? Full strength now viable build strategy. The reduce 5% okay, is far lower. I don't know, 135 wasn't too different from 120 I was testing earlier. It was somewhere in the difference was somewhere in the 40 meters range, because I could hit the enemy at 40 meters with 120. 135 I couldn't hit him at 50, so probably it was at 45 or something. Shame Strelka only gets it on low MDM or versus super high stability enemies. I think the Strelka being able to down you with one hit is still a powerful thing. You don't always want, unless your gameplay is all about trying to combo with the Strelka, you do want the enemy to be down. It's still desirable to down the enemy rather than just put them invulnerable. So there are cases where you prefer an enemy to be down rather than vulnerable. Like if you need to reload a gun, for example, you still want the enemy to go down rather than just vulnerable. And sometimes you need it done quickly. Flanker, free escape for flinch. Might all be too strong. SMG damage probably needs to be reduced. I agree. Actually, it's reduced in this build. It's 45, but it's still pretty fast. We might reduce the rate of fire. Dragoon probably does need that. Dragoon probably also needs it, but at the same time, it's just right. I want... The Dragoon is working as designed. It's putting you into vulnerable rather than downing you. So I'm not sure if the damage is the thing that's wrong there. It might be the recovery might be too fast. I don't know. I think the Dragoon is working as intended. Aerostrelka, cancel frames, applied when it whips, no vol. Melee cancel frames only work if you hit. If you whiff, the enemy is supposed to take that as an opening to hit you. And you're supposed to cancel out. If you whiff, it's your mistake, it's the enemy's turn to act. Or if you want to act, you pay some boost. That's the way the game is. That's why it's balanced. If you whiff, you miss. The enemy can now attack you because you missed. So if you want to get out of that, the game gives you an option. You can spend boost. If you want to spend boost, go ahead. But if you run out of boost, you might suffer more for it. So why would you get a free melee cancel healing? Hawkeye changes too unless you're looking to end stream. Oh, you're right. Thank you. I forgot about it because it's one weapon. I was talking about the the overall changes. But yes, the Hawkeye has a lot of new stuff. In general, we wanted to make the Hawkeye, the bombardment stat, we wanted it to be more universal, because the Hatajirushi's rushdown buff was really useful even for range builds, because reduced dodge costs and increased dash distances, anyone can use those. If you dodge, your dash distance is farther. That's useful. That's all sometimes more useful than just having additional dodge. But the Hatajirushi's buff gives you additional dodges because it reduces the cost of boosts. So it gives you a lot of cool stuff. So what we had to do with the Hatajirushi, what it does is give you additional cooldown, faster cooldowns and increased range weapon damage. But in truth, not many weapons. It kind of pigeonholes it to pure range weapons. Most of the powerful range weapons are on the back. Someone pointed this out, and I agree. Okay, so you have to use the hand weapons, and the problem is most hand weapons aren't recharge types. So you want to also affect reloads. So reloads take a while. So as you can see here, the reload takes a while. So with the Hatajirushi, let's turn it on. I shoot. You can see my reload's a little faster. And my cooldowns are also faster. In addition, if I was using a different weapon, let's say a weapon that has charge, right, left. So let's say we use another ranged weapon that people don't expect, but it's a ranged weapon. It's one of the best ranged weapons in the game. Where are you, my friend? My friend. No, the Dominus is not my friend. Oh well, let's use the Dominus, okay? So the Dominus has a ability to gather charge by hitting enemies with it. So we actually have an internal in the game that modifies this charge. So as you can see, I gained, if you look at the lower right at that level 0, I gained like, I'd say about 75% of the charge. So let's, okay, I'll spend my level 1. Okay, now I'll turn on the the Hawkeye. No, that's not the Hawkeye at all. That's not it at all. I turn on the Hawkeye. Same attack, I gain 90%, no, 90-ish, higher than 90%. So it actually also affects weapons with charges. So in general, the Hawkeye, I keep confusing it because they're both H. The Hawkeye in general powers up all the weapons' capabilities to get their special stuff, because the ability, the buff it gives is called Bombardment, and we wanted Bombardment to hit as much weapons as it could. So on top of cooldowns, on top of reload speeds, even charge damage is affected. So you're able to get into your level 1s quicker. You're able to charge your Labris Gigantuses faster. you're able to get your star gauntlets to level 3 faster if you have the Hawkeye active, the bombardment stat active. And we feel that this will make the Hawkeye a true, like, turn it on, go on full offense weapon. Because, all your weapons are becoming active faster. And we feel that's a good buff, or it could be overpowered. We'll leave it up to people to decide. We also tried to make the benefits as minimal as possible because it's a scatter shot. It's affecting a lot of different things at once. So there was someone asking, why is the reload speed only 25%? And I that's my answer, because I'm affecting cooldowns as well. I'm also affecting charges. I'm also affecting all these other things. I'm also, more importantly, my range damage is also being affected. So adding that on top, having a comparative reload speed with an internal that's dedicated to reload speed on top of all these things, which all have different internals, by the way. The charge speed mechanic also has its own internal. Range damage also has its own internal. Cooldown has its own internal. And the reload speed also has its own internal. So compared to the Hatajirushi, it has more effective internals in one buff, and they're supposed to be comparative in terms of the benefits they give. So on my end as a designer, I feel like it might be too much if we make all the benefits of the Hawkeye comparable to dedicated internal parts that modify those things. Especially because it has more of those compared to the Aurora and the Hatajirushi, which Hatajirushi has 3: the dash distance, boost cost. Boost cost is comparable to like extending your boost. You can just get a boost extension. So Hatajirushi has 3, and then melee damage, and then this has 4, effectively 4. Aurora has like 2, but the benefits of those two are pretty big. They have a really big weight benefit. So there's that. We'll keep it this way for a while. If it's still too weak for whatever reason, if people still don't use it, even though it does a lot of things, we'll see about changing it some more. But I think in its current state, it's just you can use it with a lot of things. You can even use it with the Dominus, which is pretty weird. So yeah, please do try out the new Hawkeye system. Okay, next. Well, I propose assault reload for Strelka. I hit like 2 days ago. Would be good to see where stages or story type missions in regards to story, but what's there is good and helpful. Any nerf though. Assault reload for it would help you for your issue regarding the time needed to prime back. I'm not sure if you hit with a Strelka, just prime right after the hit. Unhit with a primed Strelka, you have a cancel window, so prime. There's a lot of things you can do now, especially with the Mugen Sakura. You can do crazy stuff like on Mugen Sakura level 4, activate FB, then shoot waves at the enemy with neutrals. And I can only imagine what you can do with Strelka Prime. So Strelka Prime, probably you can do. Let me test that now. The melee cancel is pretty. I think on some things the melee cancel is too much, but then again, melee attacks are still not comparable to the safety of range. So did you see that? The enemy was blown away and I'm already priming. It wasn't even like I waited for the animation to finish and I primed. I just like, bam, prime, bam, prime. Like, so, I think melee cancels are already good. They're already... Strelka's already pretty safe. Like, just make sure you hit with all your Strelka hits and you'll have a free prime, for sure. 39 is strong, balance B, but you got SMG too. 6k base and up, and 1% and 5k. See fractions, then raw full percents. Not sure if intentional. The fractions probably come from either the deflection internals or yeah, it's probably not a flat. It's not a flat 1%. That's the most likely thing. It's like here, show the weapon special tags in the garage. Would it be okay if you assign a button on custom game mode where you can see the name of the equipped weapons, just for the sake of the people who don't see the icons that well? Don't forget to. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the reminder. SMG and Dragoon will take fine tuning if the system change stays. Yeah. SMG and Dragoon are basically must equips now. Could use just a pinch more, but it's enjoyable. Does the fine manipulators affect Dominus Railgun animations, Gorgon Rev animations, Labrys projectile throw animations, and Star Gauntlet meter charge up special animation? Fine manipulators should affect among all those listed. Probably Star Gauntlet. I'm sorry, but Star Gauntlet is a held move. It won't affect that. It will only affect really one-time animations like, you know, the transformations. I'll have to double check I think Gorgon Rev is part of it. Labrys projectile throw, I don't think it's part of it because it's an actual attack. It's not a transform. Because if fine manipulators affected attacks, they would also affect the back melee and the back melee of the Blutrider, the side melees of the hammer, which they do not. They only purely affect the transform. Range's loss of the powerful back weapons means the Hawkeye needed to open up to the few manual weapons, charge weapons. 10% faster reload to it and 5% extra charge to it isn't pushing it too far. Dash and boost. Assault. I mean, yeah. Was testing those animations and it seemed to, but was a bit hard to tell. Though, I don't blame you because we only added those melee cancel windows in this build. It's not yet out of preview. After this video is done, we'll release it to preview. So I think I answered all of it. I'll double check the Discord now. Okay, so charge and transform. So transform tags are yeah. Okay, so it is indicated in the parts now. Yeah, I don't blame you guys. It's not yet updated. It's not in our preview yet, but the coming preview will have these changes now. So just check it out. I think the charge is in there. Transform attacks is also in there. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's it. I'm looking for more comments and questions. There's no more. I think there's no more. I'll have to look for it. The 1 to 2 letters next to command attacks are indicated in the codex. They list down what those attacks actually do. But for the charge and transform attacks, they're now explicitly stated. So that should be in our latest preview after this video at the very least. So I think that's it. That's it for Wednesday Warzone. I think we discussed everything. I answered all the questions. I showed off as much of the new changes as we could. And it's still subject to change. We might, for example, reduce the vulnerability state, but that's unlikely because I think the vulnerability at 800 is already pretty good. Also note that if you're overweight, your vulnerability will increase, and it will increase pretty hard, pretty badly. I think per weight you get 50% more. If you overloaded by 100% of your weight, you'll probably get 100% more vulnerability. So it might be hilarious if you're like a low strength build and you try to get all the heavy weapons on. It'll probably look your vulnerability will probably be half the screen. So just note that. And you also actually lose vulnerability. the vulnerability grows smaller, becomes less if you're underbuilt. That's the trade-off. So if you're not fully equipping, we give you more resources, we give you more stats. That's the trade-off we have in Garrison Archangel. So I know there are lots of people running underbuilt mechs nowadays because they're arguing some weapons are not needed. You only need certain weapons, like one or two. But we hope the vulnerability changes, and the way we diversified, like melee attacks and ranged attacks, doesn't make underbuilt mechs too superior to everything else, especially now that dash distance is not tied to speed as well. So yeah, there's a lot of things to consider now when you make your mech. Armor builds have higher deflection, but they have lower dash speeds and lower mobility, so they have to rely on their tankiness or equip weapons that make up for their lack of mobility to defeat their enemies. So if an enemy is too fast for them, they should have equipped missiles, for example. So yeah, we hope this makes the game more balanced, basically. That's all these changes are for. We hope the game becomes more balanced, has a higher diversity of different builds and playstyles, that makes it more exciting rather than everyone just running the same general playstyle, or just if speed is the meta, then everyone's just running speed, for example. Or back then, armor was the main thing, so everyone was running armor. So we just want to avoid that. And we achieved that by making certain stats more powerful, certain stats weaker. Now we gave strength and armor a big leg up. Speed has been a little more balanced, but you can still feel the power of speed. The capability to dodge more often, just raw stats wise, is a pretty big thing. Like if you're flinched, the cost is pretty harsh, and the penalty to the distance is pretty bad. So we also wanted to control that, and that's why I released this experimental build, and you guys will get to experience it soon. After this, we'll try to get it out. Okay, so I think that's it for Wednesday Warzone. I answered the questions. Once again, please do join the Dart tournament this weekend if you're in the Quezon City area. At the Spawn Point Game Lounge. It's in front of darn, I forgot the name of that road. It's in front of Ateneo de Manila, Quezon City branch, the Quezon City campus. It's just there. It's in front of that. So yeah, it's in that area, and you have to be in Manila. Yeah, and we'll also be there. The dev team will also be there. So if you just want to ask us stuff live, we might be able to answer. And we just want everyone to have a good time and, you know, contribute to the data collection we have. And the tournament this weekend won't be using the preview build, sadly. It'll be using the old build. So what I'm saying in this video might not help you guys at all. So don't just ignore it. If you want to win the tournament, just ignore it for now. So that's it. Thank you everyone for listening. Even though we had technical difficulties earlier, we have active people on the stream really asking questions and giving me stuff to talk about. Thank you everyone in Discord for leaving your comments and suggestions. Like I said, this new system was a suggestion by someone on Discord, and I think it was a good overall addition. Personally, I hope you guys find it cool too once it hits live. And if you guys haven't joined our Discord yet, please do join Discord. We have the links down below. I even actually added a link there in case you want to send me an email. I have my work email there, paolo.cabe at indigo-entertainment.com. You can also send me voice files. Yes, now I remember. We also have grunts in missions mode and horde mode, which say one-liners when they appear and when they die. And all those voices are either Indigo Entertainment employees, mostly me, or people from our community. And actually, majority of the voices are people from the community. And you can actually hear how different their voices and sound quality is, because we actually want people to, just send us different voices, different phrases. We just want to have as many different voices in the game when you destroy someone. So you can say someone from you can kill someone from South America, or you can kill someone from the Philippines. If you shoot them, you'll hear their voice. So it's just a way to kind of put the community in our game. And if you want to add your own voice to our game, just send us some voice files of you doing a one-liner, or a death rattle, just anything, just anything to put on our grunts. So just these sounds will be used in this context. When they're shot, you will hear the sound, and it'll usually be stuff like, "Oh no, he got me," or "Oh, I'm dying," whatever. That's the kind of sounds we're looking for. We also the other context for which we have these sound clips is for when new squads of grunts appear on the field. So they'll usually say, "Oh, there's the enemy, kill him." So you can send us either a one-liner for that, which is, "Oh, we found the target, we're gonna kill him now," or it's, "Oh no, I got shot, I'm dead." Or you can send us both. There are people who send us a long list of different sounds, and we put most of them in the game. Some of them can't be understood, so we just tell them. It's hard to parse what the guy was saying, for example, so we try to tell them, "Hey, can you redo this?" Or, "Sorry, we can't include this because we don't know what's being said here." Or for whatever reason, like we have too much. For example, we actually had a female voice actress, who sent us a really huge list of different quotes, and we couldn't add it all in the game because it overshadowed our male voice actors. So we had to cut some out, and it's pretty cool. And we like to thank her because at least now we have higher pitched voices, and more feminine voices and more male voices, rather than before it was all just male voices. So yeah. In short, just send us your voice clips if you want to be a dying grunt in Garrison Archangel, and my email is below, so you can send it to that address. And yeah, once again, thank you, and we've reached the end of Wednesday Warzone for real now. And on behalf of the Garrison Archangel team, I'd also like to thank you on their behalf. So once again, this was Paolo from the Garrison Archangel team, producer and lore master, lore writer, and generally I'm the guy who handles anything that isn't game development or art, but even art I sometimes help with. So that's it. That's Wednesday Warzone. Sara, bye bye.